All right, so information suggests that a company that has a remote work policy will have an advantage in recruiting new employees. And like we talked about in our last conversation, flexibility was a top advantage for remote employees. And so employers, they're going to have to explore ways to offer that flexibility to employees if they want to compete for talent effectively. I mean, it seems to be no doubt about it.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Now, I have heard some of the shenanigans that some companies have gotten up to because they know that employees are seeking flexible work environments and remote work opportunities. And so, one of the things I'm starting to see articles about are people who apply for jobs that are remote, but then as they go through the interview process and then when they get the offer, it's fully on site. So it's that bait and switch. So they try to increase their candidate pool, but then they're like, yeah, no, it's actually in person.
Yeah, it's like what are they thinking they're going to gain in that situation? Bad PR is all I can think of. I mean, for most people, if they're looking for a remote position, regardless of the compensation, they're not going to want to change that. That's not going to change their mind.
Yeah, and if the company will misrepresent themselves in the hiring process when you should be on your best behavior, then that's the anytime I see the one of these posted in the comments below, just will light them up. They're like red flag, run.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's a sad thing to hear. Because yeah, I think you're right. Like when you're in that high, like I always looked at it this way, even when I might be not in that perfect situation, but it's like I always looked at the interview and the hiring process to be two-sided, right? Like I'm also like asking questions about how they do things at this company. And also asking them scenarios about, well, if this type of thing happens, how do you guys handle that? How have you handled that in the past? Because, yeah, I mean, I know a lot of people might think in shallow terms of like, well, how much does that job pay? And it's like, there's so much more to it than what the paycheck is. There's so much more. And if you work somewhere just for what the paycheck is, I mean, good luck. Um, uh, I don't think it's going to go well.
Yeah, I had an offer for a job. This has been years ago, and they did have some hybrid remote work capabilities to it. But as I asked questions about it, the way it was structured, I was like, it was this weird, uh, like underneath it all, there was a very legalistic of, oh, it can only be 2 days. And so, in essence, part of the role that I was would have been hired for would be an on-site trainer. So I would be out of the office doing training on site. And so they said that they did have a remote work policy that you could work from home 1 day a week. But if you had been in the field training one or more days, then on that 1 day, you would have to be in the office because you hadn't done your time in the office, even though you'd been out in the field training. So it was so just like and it felt, as you said, there's so much more to a job than just the salary of it. And so with that, I was like, it felt very controlling just to control as opposed to thinking about the role and what the employee is going to be doing that, okay, yeah, the people that are in the office, their role is in the office. My role is out of the office. And then to just make me come in on the 1 day, I was like, it didn't make sense. So I was like, that seemed like that organization, it would have been a tussle. always trying to like fight for your little bit of the remote work pie. Like that doesn't make any
Right.
sense.
The word that I was thinking was punitive. Like it's almost like you're being punished for being out in the field training like you're supposed to be doing. It's like you'd almost want to be like, well, I don't want to go out in the field and train because I want my remote day.
I'll lose my remote day. Right. I was like,
Yeah, it's just asinine. I mean,
yeah.
I can't think of a better way to describe it. It's like what? Yeah, and I think that becomes the problem. It's like, yeah, if you're looking, when we talk about employee recruitment, it's like you mentioned this earlier about retention, but it's the same for recruitment. There's so much time and money and energy that goes into that. It's like you want to, as a company, you want to put your best foot forward and, what we looked at in our employee advantages, flexibility is huge for people. Like, if they're looking, if they're deciding between two offers, if they're interviewing at two different companies, and one of them might be offering them a significant more in salary, but is very inflexible, where the other one might be less salary, but it looks like that's going to be a better place to work for, and a lot of people when they're looking for jobs, especially more our age, it's like we're looking for like, okay, what's that forever, I want a forever home. Like I don't want to be job hopping. I want to be able to really dig in and become part of the community and feel like I'm making a change and making a difference. And, I can attest to that. Like I've had jobs where, it's like I have enough stress in my opportunities for stress in other parts of my life. It is so refreshing to know where I work is never one of them. Like, no matter what happens, one of the people that I know I can always count on is my boss, Chris. It's like, no matter what, I have to, like, I'm never afraid to talk to Chris about anything because he always comes at things from like a point of view of like love and compassion. And yeah, he's like, I'm running a company here. It's like, we need to make money. We need to have business, but you're a human being and you're important to me too. So if we can all just trust each other and be honest with each other, it's just a happier existence for everybody. Everybody benefits, right? It's not like, I think what ends up happening is like the company feels like the employees are taking advantage of me. And the employees feel like the company's taking advantage. And it's like, it's that whole, like I said, that punitive thing where everybody's like wanting to like, okay, they owe me one, you owe me. And it's like, let's not keep score here. Let's just what's best for everybody instead of looking for ways to like get one up on everybody.
Well, Ken, 59% of workers, what they think is best is flexibility. So they were 59% were more likely to choose the employer who allowed remote work than one that did not. And that was 2023. I think it would, I don't know, and I'd say it probably has held steady there. What do you think? Steady or up or down?
Likely steady. I mean, it could be even higher now. What I thought was interesting in this was that means 41% of the people aren't worried about that, aren't worried about a remote work policy. And what I thought about there was I was like, okay, 41% of the people at the moment of hire might be thinking that, right? Because they're just like, maybe they've been out of work for several months. And so they're just like, okay, I go into the office every day. Okay, like I need to get back to work. I need to be compensated. I need to feel like I'm contributing in this way again. But over time, I wonder. Over time, I think that number starts to change because they're like, wait a minute, this is not a good, this is very rigid working situation. And the other point you made about the place where you interviewed, it's like, oh, everything has an asterisk. Everything seems to have like a hidden rule that was not apparent on the surface. And so, I think that really leads us to our next topic about employee retention, because I think even though 41% of the people might be like, I'm not worried about a remote work policy, I do feel like that not having a remote work policy probably alludes to other things, particularly the flexibility thing that we've talked a lot about in this section. And if you're working for a company that is not very flexible, you're not going to want to stay there. You're going to be looking for somewhere else to plant yourself.